Okay. Good afternoon, class. Today we're going to discuss developing communication skills. How do we develop our communication skills uh, in our class, which is very important, especially for us as physical therapists, where we need to extract information coming from the patients or our clients. At the same time, we're going to relate our uh, that information towards other allied profession. So communication skill is very important. Uh, so let's start. How do we develop our communication skill? So there are basic elements of communication skills, and we are going to learn that today. Okay. First, communication skills are important to every field in the health science. So students should be we should be helping. Actually, we are helping you to develop sound client-centered communication skills and congruence with enhancing self-awareness and enriching personal and professional growth. So that's why we are asked you to make uh, reports and assignments, which requires you to interview, to make a video, to make an educational instructional program. So this activity enhances your communication skills, especially oral communications. Make infographics. So those activities enhances your written communication skills. How are you going to transcend information towards your patient using infographics, using oral communications? So don't be don't get negative if your teachers or your instructors give you assignment on how to make in making videos of assessment to your patients using dummy patients, maybe your parents or one, because this activity enhances your communication skill, which is very essential in your profession as allied health professional. So provide patient-client communications, giving the most attention in the area of educating for communication skills, primarily because it is believed that poor communications can negatively affect patients' compliance and outcomes, and effective approach to communicating with patients and families can do opposite. So if you have poor communication skills, basically it will affect the compliance of your patients and your the program, because maybe because they don't understand what are you trying to say. So or what is the essence of the treatment. But if you have good communication skills, may it be written, verbal or non-verbal, then your patients will, not only your patients but as well as the watchers will be encouraging or will be encouraged in what doing the program. So the relatives, friends will keep on encouraging patients to do, or to motivate the patients to do the exercises. No? Aside from that, the patients will also understand how important it is to do the exercise. Okay. So scientific and technological advances in medicine have placed an increased burden for healthcare students, providers, and training to assimilate vast amounts of knowledge. In the process, interpersonal interactions that had been previously been learned at the bedside or within the direct practice setting had been de-emphasized. Especially now in COVID, though, in pandemic, supposedly we'll be doing the activity in bedside or maybe with actual patients. But now because of the cases, we utilize the technology. No? We utilize the technology in doing this. So that's why it is more important to do the activities to make you equip. So kung dili ka maghimo ana, unsaon nimo pag-equip sa imong kagalingon because we don't have now the bedside practice because of COVID. And in fact, we are threatened now by another lockdown because a nationwide lockdown because of this new strand, which is more contagious, which is more not fatal, but uh, more virulent, no, or active. So, especially here in Mindanao, we are at risk because now the new strand of corona is now in Malaysia. And Malaysia is just hours away from the Philippines using the back door through Sabah, then Sabah to Sulu, then Sulu to here, Mindanao. So imagine that. So all too often practitioners are faced with the problem of feeling that they do not have enough time to spend listening to clients and showing compassion for their circumstances. So this is the common problem, no? Because too often, especially doctors, they rely more on technology now. They rely more on laboratories, and they spend less time with the patients. Kaya pagkakita, UTI ni, na, laboratory results, kita sa X-ray. Kuha ni siya. No? When in fact, the more important is the patients. How the patients feel, how the patients quit. So, the less interaction with the patient, so less interaction, the patient becomes neglected, and doctors or even us, PT, relies more on the laboratory results. We rely more on outcome measures without now having a personal interaction with the patients. So communication skills must be therefore taught explicitly in manner that fits well into current and evolving curricula and must incorporate both skills of communicating and being self-aware. So inana siya karon. So importante gyud ang communication skills. Sometimes 50-50, no? A patient's rapport and your skills in treating the patients will give you the 100% effectivity. So dili kay maayo kay kamo treat pero kulang kag communication skills. Lisod. Saon nimo pag-treat sa patients kung di ka kabalo nga sa pag-istorya niya nga ipa-perform ng activity. So inana siya. So importante gid kaayo ang communication skills and having that you can establish now your rapport to your patients at the same time to the relatives and friends, and you can treat the patients. No, you can ask them to perform the activity. A major focus of research on communication skills teaching has been on the medical interview, including identifying the key elements of effective interview. So, inana siya. The American Academy on Physicians and Patients adapted the framework for this interview, within which there are three functions: informations gathering, relationship building, and patients education. See? Information gathering. Patients rapport is about 70%, no? Okay, relationship building and patients education, that is more on patients communications. And information gathering, you can rely on the laboratory results in patients chart, but the other two kinahanglan siya interpersonal relationship with the client. Have added element being supportive to this list. When feelings, thoughts, and experience are reduced to skills and complex multi-layered interaction between people are reduced to behavior, a much greater emphasis is placed upon the seen than the unseen. So inana ra. So kung kung unsa ra atong nakitaan mo ra na ya, ang mga unseen things dili na to tagag-emphasize lisod kaayo class. So importante balance na siya, no? So importante gyud na ang feelings sa patient, no? Ang iyang una ug ang experience even to us, no, mo gyapon importante gyud ang interactions. So the use of video or audio tips to provide evidence of accomplishment provides a self-assessment measure and opportunity for an external observer to provide expert input, informative or summative rating. So that's why in some now dito sa in some rehab or majority of the rehab now dito sa US, they have now their cameras on their rehab monitoring, no? So ginatan-aw na gina siya kung na may interaction sa patients. Uh, kay para makita nila kung unsay dapat i-improve pa not only sa ilahang patient treatment but as well as in the behavior sa ilahang staff. Similarly, the use of patient simulations is very valuable, including asking the patients to provide structured feedback to the learner to face-to-face in writing. Students can be expected to complete a self-rating and self-assessment through the reflection in writing or in person with faculty advisor or mentor. So that's why sa mga assignment activity, especially now, you are asked to provide there sa imong reflection kung unsa imong na feel about ana nga klase sa management, no? Nga unsay na learn nimo sa kana nga lecture, which is very important because in there you are asking to communicate your personal experiences to your instructor. So you provide ka og feedback, which is also a very important aspect when you are now dito sa uh, imuhang yung profession. Kay pag himo ni mag-evaluation, pag interview nimo sa patient, especially kung mag-re-evaluate ka, no? Mo naman na siya ang panon kung unsay na aside sa mga scene nimo makita nga improvement na okay na iyang posture, ni okay na iyang paglakaw. How about sa iya ha? How will you know nga na-improve ang iyang quality of life? Diba dito na siya nimo makuha sa imong pag-interview? So, inana siya. Importante kaayo ang basic communication skills. No? So, within the direct practice, during field work or experiential opportunities, feedback from patients, clients, and families can be sought to complement the feedback given by the clinical preceptor or supervisor. So, ang imong clinical preceptor or supervisor, makita na niya dito sa pag-observe niya, no? Sa imo while doing your work. Okay, so let's continue. So while communication skills are teachable, it can be learned in theoretical manner. Teaching is most effective when there is an integrative application of the skills during clinical experience across several different environments and patients population. So, inana siya class, no? Pwede na to itudlo ang skills, ang pag on how to communicate properly, on how to develop it. But lahi siya class sa applications, no? Kay dito sa applications kaning imo mga nakatunan nga theory imo man ang integrate, i-consolidate nimo in apply. No? So because not all patients are the same, no? Pareha ra na gud sa pag-prescribe nato sa exercise. Nga dili siya pareho tanan, lahi-lahi siya. Mao gyapon na, no? There are some patients nga very cooperative and easily no naiuban nga dili nga it would take time for them to open up. So Different patients, different approach, different way of dealing with them and communicating. Na iban nga, let's take for example, you could start talking with them about politics, and then that's the time that they could open up. Ang uban, you can start cracking a joke and they will open up. Or sometimes ang uban with talking about their families, their achievements, their so depende gid class. Now that's why ang exposure nato is dili lang kay isa ka patients. So mo na nga if you're constantly exposed with other people, much better, no? But if you are more on sa imo lang kaugalingon, sa imo lang family, lisod class, lisod. Maglisod ka og open sa imong patients. Mo nang importante kaayo karon you expose yourselves in different groups of people, young, old, and unsa pa gid professional, non-professional, no? I-expose yun na imong kaugalingon. Kay by that kuan ang imong mga na-learn, no? Share sa theory, ma-apply nimo na siya dayon, no? Kato imong experience pod, imo na ma-integrate dito, then you can easily communicate with these people, with your patients. Uh, then, so these are the elements of communicating in an interview. So you have your therapeutic communications, dimensions of communications, verbal and nonverbal, enablers and barriers of communication strategies to eliminate these concerns, and empathy, sympathy, and active listening. So when you say active listening class now, morning importante yun siya. Active listening is while the patient is communicating, you are analyzing what he's communicating to you. Or when he's talking to you, you you analyze it. So that is active listening. You are trying to decipher what he is trying to communicate. Let's take for example, I have a patient nga encounter sa una nga stroke no nga inpatient. Kwan siya, US citizen, no? Nag-uli diri sa Philippines, then pag-uli niya diri sa Philippines, na-busy siya, lakaw diri, lakaw dito sa Parinti, bisita sa Bohol, kay Bohol-anan man to. Babae ito siya. Then, pagka-stroke niya, maka-communicate pa siya pero hinay. So, na siya problema sa iyang communications. Sa motor, wala. So, it's more on verbal ang problema niya. And na say mild nga weakness, but I'm suspecting ato nga brainstem, no, dito siya dapit sa midbrain dapit ang naigo niya sa ihang stroke. So naipaingnan siya sa lock-in syndrome murag inana, no? Kay wala gross rugged body weakness. So wala siya ingon nga nag-cross nga left right, wala. So, ang weakness is stroke siya. So ang ihang kuan sa laboratory is naagid siya sa midbrain dapit ang ihang infarct, no? Infarction sa iyang brain. So, di kayo siya ka-istorya. Hinay kay tingog. So, she's trying to communicate with me using hand gestures and facial expressions. So, ana siya. So, decipher ni mo. So, during the time, I discovered nga dili siya ganan sa ihang in-law, which is the son-in-law. Medyo not in good terms sila. And, although, respetar lang niya sa iyang anak, no? Kay murag tapulan mo gutong laki. Yang kwan lang yun, yang anak nga kwan nag-care siya sa iyang anak ng bahay. Nanan ko siya, apo ato. Love ni yang apo, ang iyang anak. So pagabot siya yung in-law, murag di siya ganahan sa sarili. So, which medyo na sila problema, no? Then one time, hapit na siya mo out he's going to out now na okay na siya makatindog, makalakaw. I mean, naka-gate training namin, so pwede na siya mo out sa hospital. But uh, as I talked to her, she's planning to balik sa US, then bring niya ako, ang iyang anak, ibili niya ang sanlo. No, na. So, pero lisod, no? Muna akong nasabtan niya because gusto niya nga pabulagon. So, then, what one time, ang iyahang, gansa ni, anak, naguli. Nabilin is, nauli siya sa, I think, Tubod, something. Tubod didra, sa Lanao Norte. Nabilin is only the son-in-law na nag-care niya. Na-stroke siya, naka-restroke siya. I don't know kung anong nag-restroke siya. So, di na siya katindog, di siya ka-istorya. Higda nang. Pagbalik sa anak, naguli ang anak. Yeah. Saan man ako na, do I need to tell the relatives, the friends about that? I don't know what happened between them, but ako suspect ito nga murag ipasagdan lang siya siyang gipulit siguro siya siyang son-in-law. Ito taas siyang BP kay one time nag-treat niya na is ang isang lang ko higda lang tulog dito. Siya suko kayo siyang son-in-law. So I did not bother to ask questions because that is already a family matters. So I don't know kung sa ilang gilalis na itong luha, whatever, basta kay anak, no? Namatay na dito siya no, sa ospital. Actually, the bills accumulate up. Ako kayo, niabot og million. Abot naman to yung anak ikan sa US po niya. Kaniya, actually, gibinuangan ko at, I don't know, binuang to basta kay yan ko na to nga, kumuadto do siya dito, i-petition ko niya as PT para sa iya ha, no? So, di painaunta ko, koy, makaanto ko Amerika Libre. Kay petition mo ko ni as PT, no? Direct niyang i-hire as PT niya, pero wala man dayon kay man siya ka-out. So, inana, no? So what happens now, ato is nagdako kay lang bill hospital bill. Good thing kay kato siya is retired man dito siya po no. Nakatrabaho this is dako iyang pension then na siya duha ka insurance na nakuha po. So it was the hospital bill was covered by the insurance. No? About mga 3 ka 3M. So inana. So active listening, no? So it's very important for you to listen to your patients, to decipher what he's telling you. Not only in the concerns sa iyahang case, but as well as sa case sa palibot no sa iyahang mga parente nga naa niya the care niya. If they really love the patients or not, no? Because as we all know, ang ilahang kauban sa balay or family members nila, part na sila sa makahatag og success sa treatment nga gi-apply nimo sa patients because they will be the one to see to it nga ang patient is compliant or compliant siya sa imong treatment or sa imong exercise gihatag niya. At the same time, so they will be also the one encouraging the patients to do the activities, or they will be the one to discourage the patient to do the activities. May hinungdan nga high blood ang patient. So inana. So there are a lot of barriers in the communications, no? Distance, environment, o daghan kayo. So dimensions of communications, especially now, there are a lot of dimensions. We have only one rather dimensions of communication, which is the internet. No, online lang. So verbal and non-verbal. So empathy and sympathy. Empathy is what? You put yourselves in the shoes of the patients and you can feel not only feel but also kuan gyud nimo no nga kun unsay Unsay bation sa pasyente? Sympathy, siguro gid ka nag-sympathize niya nga luoy kay siya na. Empathy is more on na kay compassion. Okay, so while interviewing skills alone do not constitute the communication skills curriculum, there is clear focus upon the acquisition of such basic interac- interactional skills within the first study term, the occupation. Students are required to complete 2 interviews during the course of the first 4 months in the program. So here, so not only for 2 interviews, but you will do a lot of interviews now, especially nga na mo sa towards third year, going to internship. So daghan kayo mo og interviews yung panghimuon. That is to prepare you for the internship at the same time to ayun, proper sa professional na gid, no? In additional, their clinical practicum experience is focused upon observing professional and practice behaviors with real-world setting, and also requires them to interview patients and to assess their own performance, recording their thoughts and insights and journal format. So, sa internship na mo journal format, which is record nyo na sa mga personal experience ninyo. Ipa-journal gid mo ni doctorates, no? He'll be asking you to do that, then to submit it. Murag diary ba ninyo ba? So, training man gyapon na siya. No? So, the early stages of their education sa mga estudyante ninyo karon, approach interview for purely diagnostic. So, karon mga purely diagnostic pa mo. No? Himo mo program based on that, pero wala pa ninyo gi-apply gid siya sa patient. No? So, wherein you ask so many questions, mga mechanism of the injury, characteristic of pain, no? By conducting interviews with standardized patients who have come to them with diagnosis. So kanidri gina-develop niya, no? Yung inyong client-centered approach of understanding sa problems sa patients. So it's the same time creating positive relationship with the patients. So these are the methods, no, uh, to develop communication skills. Peer tutoring to promote communication skills. When you say peer tutoring, tutoring is body-body system. So na ay body-body nimo, no? Actually sa lab sa clean ed ni sa una ginahimo ni may body-body, no? So na one will ask the patient, i-interviewon. So kung sa iyang case stroke, so natagaan siya mo ni stroke ka mo ni imong case na din interviewon nimo. So that's a peer tutoring. So may panana, no? So unsa ba kay siya mismo dayon mauhatag sig feedback unsa pa yung mga question nga dapat i-ask nimo. So inana. Then vice versa sa balahi na po din ikaw na po dahil nga case fracture ka inani. So then written word, so wherein you have to write. Then the presented word. In presented word you have to report. So you have to do the clinical presentations, case presentations, case report, dito journal report. So inana. So these are kuan no nga maka-improve sa imong communication skills. I know some of you may say nga kulang pa man gyud ko. That's why it's the right time to kuan sa imong self to improve. So inana siya. Then let's go to evidence-based admissions and rehabilitation science. So evidence-based admission. So importante kay ini siya class no kay nga naman especially if you're after for the success of your students. So importante ni siya. No? In fact sa ato ma-apply na to kay gamay ra man ka ita no. Para evidence-based na kita no gi-apply na to. So, unsa may naa ng evidence-based admission on rehabilitation science? No? Actually, dili tanan unta makasulod sa rehabilitation science ng mga subjects no? Or even in allied health rather. So, inani siya. So, here, dito sa McMaster's University sa Canada, nag-create sila og theoretical framework for student selections wherein who can join the allied health or you can join the rehabilitation science course, PT and OT, in which mo na ilang ga-offer dito. So, they call it is the dietetic criteria or dietetic framework. So, kani siya nga framework na sa phase 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so phase 1 involves refining the criteria which applicants should be evaluated. Desired characteristics are perceptible behaviors that the ideal candidate should be displayed are defined. So here sa phase 1, sa may mga i-evaluate na ito. So basically, sa pagsulod niyo sa kung ano sa may inyong i-present na una, GPA, grades, di ba? Inyong grado sa senior high, then sa honorable dismissal for transferee. So sa transferee, inyong grado gyapon, inyong TOR with grades, then honorable dismissal. No? Sa kwan is good moral character certificate, no? So na gitawag ninyo, gikan sa school, may issue. So ina na padala na siya. Transferee, honorable dismissal man. Kalimutan ko sa para sa mga fresh graduate, no? Ana, so muna siya, no? Then pagkahuman sa man, phase 2 basic characteristics important for success in the programs in the profession, intellectual ability, interpersonal skills, group skills, leadership qualities wherein oral communication skills motivate, commitment, and past experience with people are all disabled. So, di ba pag ninyo, kung naa kay mga honor, whatever, you will be asked to submit that ng awards na receive. So, including na siya sa phase 1. Aside from that, di ba, mag-entrance ka, no? Dito sa entrance, naka-exam. O, di ba? Entrance exam. So, part na siya sa phase 1. But actually, in bigger universities in the US and other countries, you need to pass also essay before you'll be get accepted, di ba? Essays and interviews, rated interviews, and ang essay nimo that serves your written interview, then oral, no, or personal interview. Phase 2 of dietetic framework involves selecting information sources where data can be quantified. So, pilion na dayon siya, no? Diba? Ang data. This information tool should be selected on the basis of the reliability, validity, and generalizability. So, muna na, tanawon na yun ninyo dito, ang academic grades ninyo, achievement, test were generally accepted as reliable, valid measures, intellectual. So, tanawon na inyong GPA, grado, kaniyan to, then, ang result sa inyong entrance test. Tanawon na dito. Siya. Kung basihan kung pwede na ka, you will be subject for probationary. So, posibleng inana siya with percentage na. So far, wala pa ko kabalo kung ang ibasihan lang entrance exam, probe ni siya, pero wala pa gi-check ang GPA o ang grado niya atong high school siya. Supposedly, balance unta na ang duhan or na siya like percentage nga pila na to i-considered ang GPA, pila ka percent, then ang kaning entrance, pila siya ka percents para mabutang na to ang estudyante sa probationary sa status. No? Anak na siya. So then you have your sa phase 2, no? So cognitive and non-cognitive characteristics are important for assessment of candidates. The admission committee decide on 3-stage admission process using pre-admission grades as an indicator of intellectual ability to establish basic eligibility for admission. So basic eligibility na siya ang GPA. Then a written biographical submission to assess the applicant's knowledge of the profession and sa eskwelahan nga program, as well as their motivations and related experiences, and also screen applicants for interview. So, umuna na siya dayon. Pasubmit mo sa essay. No? before pag yun na siya sa interview para unta kay simply you will be asked to choose no what course are you trying to apply dira sa college or sa university. So ana siya. So kato siyang una imong GPA basihan nanto siya nga madawat ka. But regards to the profession, kung makasulod ka sa course nga ana, depende pa to sa result sa imong essay, sa imong motivation, kay dira man nila makita ang imong motivations, ang imong knowledge sa kanang ang professions. So depende pa na sa imong essay. Kung dawaton ka for interview. Oh, so a personal interview using structural format to assess interpersonal skills, communication abilities, and self-assessment skills. So dito, pag humana, interview na dayon ka. No? So sa phase 2. Phase 3, Dietrich framework consists of transforming data from their information source into measurable form. So katong results sa imong interview, ila tong ikuha na siya into measurable forms. When you say measurable forms, ila to siya ka percent na i-convert to nila into kwan. So in which nga murag mao na lack sa college, no? In other universities, they apply it already. No? Sa ilabi na sa mga sa Manila nga mga university na apply na nila. So nadagko ang university even in state colleges. So phase 4, the final yet likely most important phase is evaluation. Suggests that an iterative process to assess the reliability and validity of admission criteria and procedure acts as internal control mechanism and provides for public accountability. Now, diri, no, sa phase 4, importante na siya kay. Nga naman, diri sa phase 4, mo na siya ang pag-determine kung dawaton maka sa Department of Dili. Ang basis nila is what? Your clinical skills or your written skills and your personal interview. So, ang imong GPA, wala na to siya gi-consider. O ang imong entrance test. Those are only one subjective nga gidawat ka sa school. You are admitted sa school. But kung dawaton ka sa department or dili, nagadepende siya sa imong written or sa imong essay, no? Itong imong gisulat nga essay, o how knowledgeable are you with the course na you want to apply or imong paon, and then personal interview which is conducted usually by the department. No? So inana siya ang pre-admission uh, pre-admission or evidence-based admission and rehabilitation science. No? So inana siya in which most of the colleges and universities atong nakunan kung naa sa tagikan murag wala pa kay gini siya gi-apply strictly, but it should have been inani a process which is the correct one. So GPA and kwan has no bearing, no, with when you go to the department na kung i-accept kung dili, wala siya bearing dito because there are some students nga late ang ilahang blooming, no, ang pag-learn nila is late. So maybe ang ilang GPA dili gid siya accessible, ang iyang entrance exam ana nga time dili kwan, so nang mubo ko nakuha. So pero pag abot sa kanito department na may nakay siya dito, ay kabalo naman siya nga daan mo na iyang kurso, decided na siya, no? So inana siya class ang dapat pag-apply sa ABP admissions, no, and rehabilitation science. Now, thank you, and again, see you this next uh, month, which is January, for our finals. Thank you, and good afternoon.